Hey everyone, you're watching the From WordPress to Statamic YouTube channel. My name is Michael. Today I want to talk about querying data. Let's briefly look at WordPress, and then we'll take a deeper dive with Statamic today, looking at the collection tag. Okay, so what I've got up here is the documentation for the WP query class. This is the primary way that you would fetch data from within WordPress if you're not inside of the loop, which is the default thing on a given template. Now, looking at my test site over here, let's just say I want to output some people on the bottom of my index page, which is here on the right. I've got just this little area set up for that. I'm going to scroll down and grab some sample code here. I'll copy that, and I'll just paste it right underneath this. Make sure to close PHP. And just to quickly talk about what this is doing, we've got this query, which takes an args array, and we're going to get to that in a minute. Then we're checking whether or not we actually have any results. And then if we do, then we can spit out this unordered list. And then we'll use the while loop, which is reminiscent of the main loop, which you see up here. And then I can actually set up the post data and use my functions such as get the title or get the content, etc. So I save that and I go back to my test site and I refresh. I know it's not going to work because I actually haven't defined args yet. So I have to do a little bit extra work now. And I'm going to set this up as an array. Args is an array. And I know that it needs to take the post type as a parameter. So we'll call it people and see what happens there. There we go. So I get all the titles of the people that I have in my database. And if I wanted to make this more complex with taxonomies, or I would build all that into the array with meta queries, and it can get this pretty long array of parameters that I don't want to get into today. But as you can see, there's a lot of like PHP work to do here. But if we were to compare that to Statamic and Antlers, you can just see just how much easier this is going to be. So let's jump over there right now. So in my Statamic documentation over here, I'm looking at the collection tag. And this is what we're going to use to query your data. So I'm going to go over to my blog page in my Statamic site. I'm going to switch over to my Statamic code. And just like on my WordPress site, I've got this area for some content. So I'll call it people. Now, I don't have to lean on PHP at all to write a query. I can just use the collection tag. So I'll start there. Well, first I'll just make a unordered list. And inside there, I'll use the collection people. So that's the method for that collection. And inside these tag pairs, I have access to some things like the title. And that's all I really need to do. Let's take a look. Give it a refresh. And there we go. Let's give this a little style. Class, give font bold. Okay, there we go. I've got all the people that I've got there. And now, if I wanted to do some filtering here, I don't have to do any sort of extra query. I don't have to go into the back end, and like I said, build this more complex query with PHP. I can just go right in here and leverage the taxonomy that I already have assigned to that. So before I go into there, so I've got this taxonomy called traits, and my people collection has access to this taxonomy. So if I was to look at my collections and look at people, and I edit my collection, you can see I have this traits taxonomy on there. So if I was to look at my list of people, you can see I have some traits listed right in there. And I can use that right inside my Antlers. So we can make use of that with the collection tag. So I can say taxonomy, traits, and I can use the term handsome, for example. And that'll only show me the ones where that taxonomy is applied. I can combine them with pipe, and I can say funny, Funny. We narrow it a little bit, but this one's actually combining them, so any one that matches. If I wanted to narrow, actually, then I would add another little thing in here called all. So make sure that I have only the ones that have handsome and funny. Whoops, that's not what I wanted. There we go. And now we're narrowing it even more. And I can go even further with one more, intelligent. There we go, and I get just me. So that's just the taxonomy filtering. There's lots more you can do with the collection tag. So if you scroll down to this filtering area, you can check whether the title contains a string, who the author is, and more. Again, there's the taxonomies we've got here. So this is quite the flexible system here, using just the collection tag and adding some of these filters to get the content that we want. I didn't have to create any partials. I didn't have to go and write in any queries. It's just right there for me. Now, what if I wanted to create a filtering system? Well, let's go back to the website. And you can see on the blog page here that I've been working with, I have these buttons up here that correspond to some category terms. So if I was to click into breakfast, for example, it's filtering based on the taxonomy. And so all these ones will have this term associated with it. And you can see now it's missing from the top, the buttons here. And if I look at the URL, got the categories and the slugs, this is sort of reminiscent of how the WordPress archive templating system works. Now, up at the top of my file here, you can see that I'm looping over the categories taxonomy and outputting all the terms. But here, since I'm actually on a different template now, I have this all link instead of the current one. So if I was to look at the show for this particular category, well, first let's start down here. I'm looping through the blog collection using the category with the current slug. So in this case, it's breakfast. But if I was to look at the list above here, as we pointed out, now it's missing from this list. And the way that we're doing that is with this slug filter, making sure that we're not using a term where the slug matches the current slug of this page. And then I'm just adding another link to go back to the main blog to show everything. Okay, let's try and recreate the same thing for the people collection. First, I'm just going to go create some new templates for my traits taxonomy. So I'm going to make a new folder for traits. And in there, I'm going to put some new files. Do show.antlers.html. And I'm also going to add index.antlers.html. Okay, so if I go to my people page, as you can see, I already have some of my traits output here. So if I click on funny, for example, you'll see that I have nothing in there. So if I open up my traits show that we just created, I'm just going to paste in some code where I'm just going to output the title and the content. And there's probably no content at this point, but here we go. Now I know I'm funny. If I go back here to click on handsome, same thing. Okay, so let's stick with funny. So rather than outputting content, I'm going to output the collection people. And just to see that it's working, make sure that's wrapped in a UL. Okay, so I've got my list of people here, but now I'm going to implement some of that filtering using my slug that I've got up here. So I'm going to say the taxonomy is traits, and I'm going to use the slug from the parent scope, which is the template. And there we go. Now it's narrowed down. And if we go back and I click on handsome, okay, and now I can do the same thing that I had with my blog, where I have my list of terms right above there. So if I go back to my people, the index, and I just grab this. I'll copy that. Okay, then I'll just paste it in here, and I'll add the slug as the filter. Make sure I'm using the not, and I'll reference the slug from the parent query, slug. I'll just make sure I have some margin on here as well, class. There we go. So I get the ones that are not part of this current one. And we'll just add another list item. The link. That's going to be to people. Show all. Just grab those classes as well. Give it a refresh. Okay, now go back to all, back to people, and I show all of my traits there. Intelligent. There we go. And now we have this filtering system based just on the slug from our templates. So as we can see, querying this kind of data using our collection tags and our taxonomy tags is pretty easy. Again, I don't have to reach into PHP for any of this. I mean, I can if I want, and we'll talk about creating custom tags in another video. But for now, I can do all this just with antlers and passing in filters without too much heavy-handed work. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one.